Instructor warned, "This creature is dangerous." She raised an eyebrow. "Dangerous? To who, sir?" The shuttle arrived at the station without drama. It slid into the docking ring like a quiet thought, unnoticed by most of the cadets who were busy watching a combat drill through the wide glass hall. Metal echoed as two large alien trainees slammed into each other inside the practice arena. Cheers rose from the crowd. Strength was respected here. Noise was admired. The station was called Ardent Reach, a massive structure floating between 3 star systems. It was where future commanders and specialists of many species trained together. Everyone knew it was not a friendly place. Mistakes were remembered. Weakness was never forgotten. Instructor Lyra stood apart from the others, arms folded behind her back. She was tall, her skin a dull gray blue, her eyes sharp and steady. She had seen many recruits come and go. Some arrived confident and broke within weeks. Others arrived afraid and learned how to hide it. Very few truly surprised her anymore. A soft chime sounded in her ear. "Instructor Lyra," a voice said through her comm. "Report to Arrival Base 7. Immediately." Her brow creased. New arrivals were usually handled by junior staff. The urgency in the voice told her this was different. She turned and walked away from the arena. Behind her, the crowd roared as one trainee was thrown across the floor. Arrival Base 7 was quiet. Too quiet. 2 security officers stood near the airlock, armored and alert. A command official waited nearby, his posture stiff. "You called me," Lyra said calmly. The official nodded. "A new recruit has arrived. You are assigned as primary instructor."
"That alone does not explain the guards," she replied.
He hesitated, then activated a holo panel. Lines of red warnings filled the air between them. Instructor advisory species classification. Human risk level. Extreme handling protocol. Observe only. Do not provoke. Do not corner. Do not threaten. Lyra read it twice, then a third time. "This creature is dangerous," the official said, his voice low. "You are to be careful." She looked up slowly, one eyebrow rising. "Dangerous?" she said. "To who, sir?" The official did not answer. Instead, he gestured toward the airlock. The door opened. The human stepped out alone. Lyra had expected something else. Larger, perhaps. Armored, scarred. The creature in front of her was small compared to most species on the station. 2 arms, 2 legs, soft-looking skin, no visible claws or fangs, dark hair, cut short, simple uniform, no markings of rank or honor. The human carried no weapon. Its eyes moved quickly, taking in the guards, the walls, the exits, not afraid. Alert.
"This is the recruit," the official said.
Designation, Eli. Lyra studied the human carefully. "Welcome to Ardent Reach," she said. "You will follow station rules." Eli nodded once.
"Understood." The voice was calm.
No accent translator errors. Clear and even. One of the guards shifted slightly. Lyra noticed. "You may leave us," she said to the security officers. The official stiffened. "Instructor, the protocol suggests." "I will take responsibility," Lyra said flatly. After a moment, the guard stepped back. The official deactivated the warning panel and left without another word. Silence filled the bay. Lyra faced the human. "You were warned about this place?" "Yes," Eli said. "And you still came?" "Yes." "Why?" Eli thought for a second. "Because this is where you send the ones you do not trust."
Lyra felt a flicker of something she had not felt in a long time.
Interest. She led Eli through the station corridors. Other cadets stared as they passed. Some sniffed the air. Others laughed quietly. "That one is tiny," someone muttered. "Is it a servant? No claws. No shell. Weak." Eli heard them. Lyra could tell, but the human did not react. "Training begins at dawn," Lyra said. "You will be tested like all others." "Yes, you will be watched." "I assumed so." They reached the living quarters. Lyra assigned Eli a basic unit at the far end of the hall. Rest, she said. You will need it. Eli nodded again. Thank you, instructor. The door slid shut. Lyra remained standing there longer than needed. The next day, the tests began. Strength trials came first. Heavy lifts, resistance pushes, raw force. Eli struggled. Metal bars shook as larger trainees lifted weights twice their size. Eli failed to complete several tasks. Numbers flashed on the screens. Low, very low. The other cadets laughed openly now. Speed tests followed. Short bursts, long endurance runs. Eli performed better here, but still not impressive. Middle range, nothing special. Lyra watched without comment. Her fellow instructors exchanged looks. Is this a mistake? One asked quietly. Perhaps the warnings were outdated, another said. Lyra said nothing. Then came the simulation room. The cadets were placed into separate command pods. A virtual battlefield unfolded around them. Unknown terrain, unknown enemy. Objective, the system announced. Survive and secure. The countdown began. Most cadets rushed forward. Aggression was common. Power solved many problems. Eli did not move. Minutes passed. The first cadet was eliminated. Then another. Eli remained still, eyes scanning data streams. The human rerouted energy, cut false signals, watched patterns. Lyra leaned forward. The enemy units moved exactly where Eli predicted they would. Traps triggered. Virtual units fell without Eli ever being seen. At the end, Eli stood alone. The room was silent. How did you know? One cadet demanded. Eli looked at them. They moved like scared soldiers pretending to be brave. That night, Lyra accessed the human records. Access denied. She tried again. Access denied. Clearance insufficient. Instead, a single message appeared. Do not dig deeper unless prepared. Lyra exhaled slowly. The following day, survival drills began. The cadets were placed in a controlled hostile environment. Limited resources, rising stress. A group of larger trainees cornered Eli near the supply zone. You should not be here, one said, baring teeth. This is not your place. Eli raised empty hands. I do not want trouble. They attacked anyway. It ended quickly. Too quickly. Eli moved with sudden precision. No wasted motion. One attacker hit the ground. Breath gone. Another slammed into a wall and did not rise. The third froze, staring into Eli's eyes. Eli stopped. Enough, the human said softly. Medics rushed in. The attackers lived. Lyra's hands trembled. That night, alarms echoed through Ardent Reach. Unauthorized vessels detected. Lockdown initiated. Lyra rushed toward the command deck. She found Eli already there, watching the tactical display. They are not here for the station, Eli said. They are here for me. Lyra stared at the human. For the first time, she said slowly, tell me what you are. Ellie did not smile. I am human, Eli said. And I was trained for places worse than this. The lights dimmed as enemy signals closed in. And Lyra finally understood the warning had never been about fear. It had been about restraint. The station was quiet after the alarms. Red lights cast long shadows over the corridors, turning polished floors into mirrors of worry. Cadets whispered nervously as instructors rushed past, giving orders that sounded both urgent and uncertain. Normally, Ardent Reach had a rhythm, a predictability that comforted even the nervous. But tonight that rhythm was gone. Ellie stood in the command deck, hands resting lightly on the console. The human's eyes scanned the tactical feeds as though reading a book. Every movement of the approaching vessels was predicted and logged. Lyra remained at the edge of the deck, arms folded, trying to understand what she was seeing. She had trained hundreds of cadets before, yet this human, small and seemingly ordinary, moved through danger as if it were familiar. Do you see them? Lyra asked quietly. The attackers? There are at least 6 ships, and they are heavily armed. Yes, Ellie replied calmly. And they are inexperienced. They are also confident, which makes them dangerous in their way. But they are predictable. Lyra frowned. Predictable? How can anyone predict what enemy ships will do? Eli did not answer immediately. Instead, the human pointed at one of the feeds. See that? Their formation is weak on the left flank. They are relying on speed to compensate for their lack of strategy. One ship will break first. When it does, the others will follow. Lyra squinted at the screen. She had been a tactician for over a decade, but she could not see what Eli was seeing. It was as though the humans saw not just the ships, but the pilots inside. Their fears, their errors, their hesitations. Are you certain? She asked. Yes, Eli said. The voice was quiet, almost soft, but carried an undeniable weight. I have seen this before, Lyra's mind raced. Could it be possible that a human could read a battle in ways that no alien mind could?
It was not just skill.
It was instinct. It was history compressed into intuition. Before she could ask another question, an alert sounded. One of the enemy ships had broken formation exactly as Eli predicted. Its shields flickered and then collapsed. Another followed. The crew of the command deck let out quiet gasps as the ships were destroyed almost before they could respond. They are adapting, one cadet whispered nervously. They are too slow, Eli said. They do not understand the advantage they give me by underestimating human strategy. Lyra felt a chill run down her spine. She had watched humans in simulations before, read reports of their victories, but nothing prepared her for this. She had always thought humans small and fragile. She had never considered their minds might be weapons in themselves. The attack ended in minutes. Not a single human hand on the station had moved, yet every attacker was defeated or disabled. The cadets stared in disbelief, their whispers now a chorus of awe and fear. After the last ship exploded on the feeds, Eli turned to Lyra. This is only a test. Others will follow. The real threat has yet to arrive. Lyra swallowed. Why would they target you specifically? I am difficult to ignore, Eli said simply. The answer seemed to contain centuries of history, yet it was delivered as if it were nothing more than a fact of life. The next morning, the station tried to return to routine, though no one could shake the tension. Training exercises continued, but there was a new unease in the air. Cadets who had mocked Eli days before now kept their distance. Even the strongest trainees seemed hesitant to challenge the human. During the first obstacle course, Eli fell behind on the climbing wall in the speed relay. Some of the cadets whispered, thinking they saw an opening. But then came the strategy exercise. It was simple. Capture the station's central flag while avoiding patrol drones. The other cadets rushed forward with brute force. They set traps and fired at the drones, trying to overwhelm the system. Eli moved slowly, deliberately, observing patterns. Drones fell into the cadets' traps, but the human avoided them effortlessly, slipping past patrols and traps as if invisible. By the end, Eli held the flag, completely untouched, and had simultaneously led 2 other cadets to safety, who had been caught in their own traps. The instructors were stunned. Lyra could not hide her astonishment. How did you do that? One instructor demanded.
Eli shrugged. I watched.
I waited, and I remembered.
Remembered? Lyra asked. Humans do not need to rely on speed or strength alone.
We can survive through observation, patience, and timing. Sometimes the smallest action is the most effective. The other cadets muttered among themselves. Fear was spreading. Some of them had begun to whisper rumors that Eli was not a normal recruit at all, that this human had survived wars no one could imagine. Lyra ignored the gossip. She needed to focus on what she could control. Later, Lyra attempted to access Eli's records again. The system blocked her. Security clearance insufficient. Frustrated, she sent a query through the proper channels, but the response was delayed. The station had rules, but some rules were created to hide humans, not protect them. By the evening, the human had already taken it upon themselves to patrol the corridors. Lyra followed quietly, curious and concerned. They walked with no weapons, no guards, yet seemed to see everything. Flickers of motion, the hum of machinery, subtle changes in lighting that hinted at security breaches. "You are too calm," Lyra said finally. "Do you not fear what is coming?" Eli glanced at her briefly. "Fear does not help. Preparation does. Understanding does." Lyra wanted to push further, to question what exactly Ellie had endured before arriving at Ardent Reach, but she sensed that asking would be useless. There was a barrier in the human's mind, invisible yet impenetrable. Lyra had seen soldiers refuse to answer simple questions after battle. Eli carried something heavier than exhaustion. The next day, a simulation went wrong. A malfunction in the system sent real fire suppression drones into the exercise arena. Most cadets panicked, retreating as alarms blared. Eli stayed in the center of the chaos, calmly redirecting the drones, guiding the panicked cadets out safely. Not a single injury occurred, and the instructor team watched in silent amazement. "Who trained you?" Lyra finally asked after the exercise. Eli's face did not change.
"I trained myself, and I learned from those who could not survive." That night, Lyra remained on the command deck long after the station quieted.
She stared at the tactical displays, replaying the day's events. Humans were fragile. They could be broken physically with a single misstep. Yet this human had moved through danger with precision that rivaled the most advanced AI the station had developed. A new alert sounded. Another group of enemy vessels had entered the system, approaching silently. Unlike the first group, these ships moved with intelligence and coordination. Lyra felt a familiar tension in her chest. She watched Eli calmly stand in front of the command console, eyes scanning the approach paths and communication signals.
"Are you ready?" Lyra asked quietly.
Eli nodded. "I have never not been ready." The first enemy ship appeared on the feeds. Lyra and the cadets watched as it slowed, seemingly confused by the station's defenses. Eli's fingers flew across the interface, rerouting energy shields and redirecting patrol drones. Another enemy ship faltered, and then another. Within minutes, several ships were disabled, without a single human or station crew being harmed. Cadets whispered again, now with fear and awe mingled together. Some looked at Eli as if the human were not just a recruit, but a force of nature. Lyra remained calm, but inside her thoughts raced. This human was small, seemingly ordinary, but the ability to see, predict, and act with unmatched precision was something she had never witnessed before. After the battle, Eli turned to her. "You asked why I came here," the human said. "I came because I could survive."
"And because I needed to see what you thought humans were capable of." Lyra understood then.
The warnings had not been about raw power or aggression. They were about intelligence, adaptability, and restraint. Humans were dangerous not because they sought conflict, but because they survived it better than most species, and when pushed, they could respond with speed and precision unmatched by machines or aliens alike. For the first time, Lyra felt both awe and caution. She realized that the reports and records she had tried to access were not exaggerations. This human, small and quiet, was the very reason the station had issued the warnings. "Tomorrow," Eli said softly, "the real test begins." Lyra nodded slowly. She did not ask what that meant. She already knew it would be unlike anything the station had ever experienced, and somewhere deep inside she wondered if Ardent Reach itself was ready for what was coming. The morning air in Ardent Reach was unusually still. Even the hum of machinery seemed quieter than normal. Cadets moved through the corridors in small groups, speaking in whispers. The attack from the previous day had shaken everyone. Not one cadet dared to challenge Ellie now. The human moved through the halls calmly, carrying a small satchel, eyes constantly observing, scanning. There was a weight in the way Eli walked, a quiet confidence that demanded attention even without words. Instructor Lyra followed from a distance. She had spent the night reviewing battle simulations, studying the human's movements, and thinking about the strange reports blocked from her clearance. She had never seen anything like Eli before. Other species relied on strength, firepower, or speed. Eli relied on something else: awareness, anticipation, and patience. Lyra could not stop herself from asking questions, but the human never revealed anything unnecessary. The day began with the survival drill. Cadets were dropped into a controlled forest-like environment inside the station. They had limited supplies, simulated hazards, and unpredictable opponents controlled by the AI. The exercise was designed to test teamwork, strategy, and resilience. Most cadets rushed forward immediately, eager to prove themselves. Eli did not. Instead, the human paused at the edge of the field, taking in the surroundings. The sound of simulated creatures echoed through the halls, a mixture of low growls and screeches. Drones flew overhead, simulating aerial threats. Others hid in the trees, pretending to be enemies. Cadets shouted, tripped, and ran in panic. Eli watched them quietly. Then, when the moment was right, the human moved. Each step was precise, calculated. No unnecessary movement, no wasted energy. A cadet ran toward a supply cache and tripped over a fallen log. Eli was already there, helping them up and redirecting them to safety. Why help them? Lyra whispered to herself. Most would leave struggling cadets behind to save themselves. They are part of the exercise, Eli said without looking back. Helping them is also survival. Suddenly, a group of larger cadets cornered Eli near a simulated river. Their voices were loud, mocking. "You think you can survive out here, weakling?" one shouted. "We will see who is dangerous now." Eli's eyes narrowed slightly. The human did not run. The body shifted into a stance that was subtle, almost invisible to the casual observer. Then the cadets attacked. It was over almost instantly. Eli moved faster than the eye could follow. One cadet was thrown against a tree. Another stumbled backward into a hidden trap the human had silently activated moments before. The third froze, staring at Eli as if seeing a ghost. "Stop!" Eli said softly. That was all. The cadets did not move until Lyra arrived, breathless and alarmed. The human looked at her calmly. "They were reckless," Eli said. "They could have been hurt. I prevented it." The cadets recovered and muttered apologies. Some looked frightened. Others stared in awe. No one laughed at Eli again. Not today. After the drill, Lyra took Ellie aside. "You did not hold back," she said. "I have never seen anything like that. Why did you stop them so quickly?" "They are part of the exercise," Eli replied. "I wanted to teach them the cost of carelessness without causing harm that cannot be repaired." Lyra frowned. This was more than teaching. You could have seriously injured them. Or worse. Eli's gaze was steady. "Yes."
I could have, but that is the point.
"The warning you received was not about me losing control. It was about what happens if I am pushed too far. It is a measure of restraint." Lyra remained quiet. She understood now. The human was dangerous not because of strength alone, but because every action was precise, efficient, and deadly if required. Later in the afternoon, the command simulations began. The cadets were paired into teams and placed in a virtual battlefield where enemy units advanced unpredictably. Most teams relied on brute force, sending cadets running toward the enemies to overpower them. Eli's team moved differently. The human observed, waited, and calculated. Orders were given quietly, spoken with clarity that left no room for confusion. Cadets who had been panicked, uncertain, or reckless followed Eli's commands instinctively. The team moved as one, predicting enemy moves before they happened, avoiding traps, and using the environment strategically. At one point, an enemy ambush cornered the team. Cadets froze, expecting disaster. Eli stepped forward. With a single movement, the human redirected drones, neutralized hazards, and created a path for escape. Every action was precise, never wasted. Not a single cadet was injured. When the simulation ended, instructors reviewed the results. Eli's team had completed objectives faster than any team in the history of Ardent Reach. Cadets whispered in astonishment. Some refused to meet the human's eyes, while others simply stared in disbelief. Lyra stepped forward. "How did you do that?" she asked. Eli's expression was calm. "Observation, patience, and timing. Predict what will happen, act before it occurs, and avoid unnecessary risk. Brute force is rarely the best solution." The other instructors muttered among themselves. They had trained for decades, studied tactics, and yet they could not understand fully how a human could accomplish such results without relying on overwhelming power. By evening, the station's alert system sounded again. This time, it was not a simulation. Sensors detected an intruder near the outer perimeter. Unknown vessels had approached quietly, attempting to bypass detection. Panic spread among the cadets. Instructors scrambled to their stations. Eli was already at the command deck. The human did not wait for orders. Fingers flew across consoles, scanning the intruders, analyzing weapon systems, and predicting attack patterns. Lyra watched, amazed and uneasy. The first intruder ship fired. The human redirected defense drones, neutralizing the attack before it reached the station. Another ship attempted to flank. Eli had already predicted the move, adjusting shields and countermeasures. Within minutes, the attackers were disabled, retreating into the void of space. Cadets were silent, processing what had happened. Instructors whispered urgently among themselves. Lyra took a deep breath. She realized fully that the warning she had received was not about human weakness. It was about strength in forms that the station had never trained for. After the intruders retreated, Lyra asked, "Why do they keep targeting you?" Eli's expression did not change. "Because I exist. Because I survive. Because humans are difficult to ignore." That night the station was quiet again, but the tension remained. Cadets avoided Eli's quarters, and even instructors gave space. The human remained calm, reviewing tactical maps and data feeds, preparing for the next possible attack. Lyra stayed nearby, unable to sleep. She thought of the earlier warning. This human was dangerous. Now she understood. Eli's danger was not a threat without reason. It was a controlled, precise capability that could end conflicts before they began or save lives when others would panic. It was discipline, restraint, and intelligence, qualities that were often underestimated in humans by other species. The next day, drills continued. Eli moved through them with ease, performing tasks that others could not complete. Cadets followed quietly, aware that this human was unlike anyone they had encountered. The whispers and jokes were gone. Respect and a hint of fear had replaced them. By the afternoon, Lyra received a sealed communication from High Command. It was marked with the highest level of urgency. The message instructed her to monitor Eli closely. They were concerned that other forces might escalate their attacks because of the human's presence. Lyra read the message twice and then set it aside. She knew she did not need reminders. She had been watching closely all along. In the simulation room later, Eli prepared the cadets for an advanced exercise. The task was complex. Capture strategic points while avoiding detection from automated defense units. Most cadets hesitated, unsure of the plan. Eli walked through the field slowly, pointing out paths, traps, and timing sequences. When the exercise began, the humans' team moved as one. They navigated traps, avoided detection, and achieved objectives with precision. Not once did they break formation. Not once did panic appear. Instructors took notes, astounded. This human was teaching others to survive, not through intimidation, but through observation, patience, and skill. Afterward, Lyra approached. "How do you remain so calm?" she asked. Eli's eyes met hers. Calm is necessary to see clearly. Fear clouds judgment. Hesitation costs lives. Lyra nodded slowly. He realized that the warning she had received was not just about potential danger. It was about understanding the human mind. And for the first time, she felt that she was only beginning to grasp it. As night fell, the station lights dimmed, but Lyra could still hear the hum of activity from the command deck. Eli remained there, reviewing enemy movements, analyzing potential threats, and preparing for the next day. Lyra watched from the doorway, feeling both awe and unease. This human, small and quiet, had survived challenges that others could not imagine. The cadets had learned lessons in a single day that would take others months to understand. And the instructor finally understood the full weight of the warning. Humans were dangerous not because they sought conflict, but because they survived it, anticipated it, and acted with precision that no other species could match. And tomorrow, she knew. The station was quieter than usual that morning. Even the usual hum of machines felt muted, like the air itself was holding its breath. Cadets moved cautiously through the halls, their eyes darting toward Eli whenever the human passed. They no longer whispered or laughed. The memory of yesterday's survival drill and tactical mastery was fresh, and no one wanted to be near a person who could move through danger as if it were a game. Instructor Lyra walked beside Eli as the human inspected the outer sections of the station. The walls were lined with surveillance panels and warning lights. Normally, Lyra would have felt confident with the station's defenses, but today, something in the human's calm gaze unsettled her. "You know something," Lyra said quietly. "Careful not to alert the cadets nearby. Something that the rest of us don't." Eli did not answer at first. The human's eyes scanned the corridors, observing movements in ways that Lyra could not even describe. "I have seen how this station reacts to threats," Eli said finally. "I have learned what others cannot see. That is all." "That is not all," Lyra pressed. "There is more to you than what you let us see. The warnings, the files blocked for me. Why was it necessary to classify you at the highest level?" Eli stopped walking. The human turned slowly to face Lyra. "Because humans are not what they seem," Eli said. "Other species judge by size, strength, or firepower. They do not understand history, endurance, and adaptation. That is what makes us dangerous." Lyra frowned. "I understand strength and skill, but history and adaptation? How does that make a recruit a threat?" Eli's gaze drifted toward the observation window. Outside, the stars were bright and still. Humans survive in ways others cannot. We are trained to anticipate, adapt, and endure. We survive when escape seems impossible. That is why you are warned. Before Lyra could respond, an alert sounded. This time, the sensors detected something unusual within the station itself. Motion in restricted corridors, signs of forced access. Lyra felt a sudden tension in her chest.
"Enemy infiltration?" she asked.
No. Ellie said calmly, "Someone is looking for me."
"Someone who knows what I can do." The human moved quickly to the control panel, fingers scanning data streams. Lyra followed, trying to keep up with the rapid calculations and adjustments. "Who could it be?" she asked. "They are efficient," Eli said. "They are not attacking yet. They are testing, observing, and they will act if they think the opportunity is safe." Lyra realized the truth. The warning was not only about Eli's abilities, it was about the fact that others wanted to eliminate humans like Eli before they could prove how dangerous they were. By mid-afternoon, cadets were pulled into a controlled lockdown. Access to the outer sectors was denied. The station's AI reported multiple intrusions, all tracing back to unknown forces. Eli moved through the corridors with Lyra trailing. The human's calmness was unnerving. Cadets stared from doorways, unsure whether to feel awe or fear. Eli stopped at a maintenance hatch. "This will lead to the intruders," the human said. Lyra raised an eyebrow. "You intend to confront them yourself?" she asked.
Yes. I need to know who is targeting me and why.
"They will not succeed if I am aware." They crawled through the narrow passage, the hum of the station above masking their movement. At the end, Eli peered through a small viewport. Lyra followed. Two figures in dark armor were attempting to access the station's control network. Their movements were deliberate, fast, and coordinated, but not perfect. "They are skilled," Eli said, "but they do not anticipate as humans do." In one swift movement, Eli disabled the intruder's access with a series of precise commands. Lights flashed on the viewport, signaling alarms and locking doors. The intruders froze, stunned by the sudden countermeasures. "Why are they after you?" Lyra asked. "They fear humans," Eli replied simply. "Not because of who we are, but because of what we survive. They hope to remove me before I can prove it." Lyra felt a chill. She had trained for attacks before, faced enemies from rival species, and yet she had never faced a situation like this. Eli, small and unarmed, was handling it alone with precision. The intruders retreated, but not before leaving a clear message on the security feeds. "Humans are a threat. Remove them before they grow stronger." The station went into emergency protocol. Security teams were deployed and cadets were confined to safe zones. Lyra stayed near Eli, watching closely. "Do you always act alone?" she asked. "No," Eli said. "But some threats cannot be countered by numbers. Observation and precision matter more than strength." As night fell, Lyra reviewed the incident with other instructors. The human had once again solved a problem before it escalated. The cadets had witnessed it all, and even the instructors whispered about the human's abilities. Lyra realized fully now why the warnings had been issued. Eli was dangerous not because of aggression, but because of skill, patience, and intelligence that no one fully understood. The next morning, a new exercise was announced. This one was unlike previous drills. The cadets were to navigate the station's lower levels while evading hidden threats and solving complex tactical problems. Most cadets rushed forward. They moved with confidence, believing in their strength and weapons. Eli observed, as always, calculating, waiting. A simulated breach occurred unexpectedly. Drones advanced, marking cadets as targets. Panic erupted. Cadets ran in all directions, triggering alarms and traps. Eli moved through them effortlessly, redirecting threats, guiding cadets to safety, and neutralizing hazards with quiet precision. When the exercise ended, not a single cadet was harmed. Instructors were astonished. "How do you do it?" one asked. Eli's expression was calm.
"I anticipate. I watch."
"I act before others even realize a choice is necessary." Lyra realized that this was more than skill. It was experience. The human had survived scenarios far beyond any cadet or instructor. That experience, that history, gave Eli an advantage that no training could replicate. Later, Lyra accessed restricted files again. Still, access was denied. The system displayed only one line: human, classified level 1, extreme caution required. She understood now that Eli's past was intentionally hidden. Whatever had trained this human, whatever had shaped the skills she had witnessed, was not recorded for the station. It was deliberately erased or classified beyond comprehension. By afternoon, Eli led cadets through another drill, this time teaching them subtle strategy and survival tactics. Cadets followed, wide-eyed, realizing that the human's abilities were not only about physical skill but about awareness, patience, and timing. Lyra followed silently, wondering how much of this had been learned from the station and how much came from something else entirely. A sudden alert changed the atmosphere. High Command requested a secure transmission. It was urgent. Lyra opened the channel. "Human recruit," a voice said through the comm. "Your presence is required. You are no longer considered a trainee. You are a subject of strategic interest. Proceed to the observation chamber immediately." Eli glanced at Lyra. They finally understand. Lyra frowned. "Understand what? That humans cannot be controlled the way they expect?" Eli said. "They will try to study us, limit us, even fear us. But they cannot stop what we are capable of." The observation chamber was a large reinforced room with multiple screens. High-ranking officers from the council appeared on the displays, speaking in alien tongues. They asked questions, tested knowledge, and attempted to assess risk. Eli answered calmly, without pride, without arrogance. Every answer demonstrated intelligence, awareness, and restraint. After the session, Lyra approached. "You were calm throughout," she said, "even when they tried to intimidate you." Eli nodded. "Calm is necessary. Fear does not teach anything. It only hides the truth." Lyra realized fully that the warnings had never been about raw power. They were about the human mind, trained to survive, adapt, and anticipate in ways that others could not. The danger was in restraint and precision, not in aggression. As night fell, Ellie remained on the deck, reviewing potential threats and preparing for the next challenge. Lyra watched from the doorway, realizing that the station itself was learning from the human. Cadets and instructors alike were forced to adapt, to see beyond strength and numbers, and to respect strategy and awareness above all. She understood finally that humans were dangerous not because they sought conflict, but because they survived it better than anyone else. And when pushed, they could act in ways that no one expected. And the warning was true. Eli was dangerous. Not to the station, not to the cadets, but to anyone who underestimated what humans could endure and achieve. The station's alarms blared before dawn. Red lights flashed across the walls and corridors, casting long, uneasy shadows over every surface. Cadets scrambled from their quarters, panic in their movements. This was not a drill. Sensors had detected multiple enemy ships approaching the station, faster and more coordinated than anything they had faced before. Eli was already at the command deck. The human stood calmly, scanning the incoming vessels. Fingers flew across the consoles, rerouting energy shields, adjusting drone patrols, and analyzing the attackers' formations. Instructor Lyra arrived moments later, breathless from the sprint through the corridors.
Eli, she said urgently, they are faster than before.
Their weapons are stronger. This may be more than a test. Eli's eyes were steady. No one will reach the station without me knowing. We can handle this. Cadets and instructors watched, some frozen with fear, others in disbelief. Eli moved through the tactical interface with a precision that seemed almost impossible. The human did not shout, did not panic, but the air seemed to hum with quiet authority. The first enemy ship fired. Shields flared. Drones intercepted and redirected the attack, neutralizing the incoming fire before it could damage the station. Another ship attempted a flanking maneuver. Eli anticipated it, redirecting defense turrets to intercept the threat. "Look at that," one cadet whispered. "It's like they know exactly what's coming." "They do," Lyra said quietly. "They are human." The enemy was relentless. Several more ships appeared, moving in coordinated patterns, trying to exploit weaknesses in the station's defenses. Cadets shouted orders at each other, but most of their actions were ineffective. Eli corrected every mistake silently, guiding the station's systems to counter the attackers without a single misstep. Then the unexpected happened. One ship broke formation and headed directly for the central command tower. Its weapons glowed with a deadly intensity. Cadets panicked, shouting warnings and orders. Lyra's heart raced. If the ship struck the tower, the station could be crippled. Eli's fingers moved faster than the eye could follow. Energy shields were redirected, drones deployed as barriers, and automated countermeasures engaged in perfect timing. The ship struck, but its impact was absorbed, deflected, and the vessel was destroyed before it could cause significant damage. "Impossible," a cadet muttered. "How did they do that?" "They predicted it," another replied. "They always see it coming." The remaining enemy ships tried to regroup, but Eli anticipated every move. Each vessel that attempted to attack was met with countermeasures. The humans' team moved with quiet efficiency, disabling threats and guiding cadets to safer positions. The battle was fierce, yet controlled. Every action Eli took was calculated to maximize safety while neutralizing danger. Lyra observed in awe. She had trained for years, studied tactical simulations, and faced enemy attacks before, but nothing prepared her for this. A single human was directing the entire defense, moving faster than the cadets could even follow. Then, one of the enemy commanders made a bold move. A group of heavily armed ships attempted a coordinated strike on the station's power core. If successful, it could cripple the station's defenses and leave everyone vulnerable. Eli's eyes narrowed. "They are testing limits," the human said. "They think the core is vulnerable. They do not know patience or observation." Without hesitation, Eli adjusted drone deployments, reinforced shields around the power core, and used the station's automated turrets to intercept incoming fire. The drones moved like living creatures, blocking and deflecting attacks with perfect timing. The enemy ships were forced to retreat, unable to break through. Cadets stared in disbelief. "They can't be real," one said. "They are real," Lyra replied softly. "And this is only one human." The enemy commander, frustrated by failure, sent a final strike, a massive, heavily armed ship moving directly toward the central command hub. It was large, armored, and its weapons glowed with lethal energy. The cadets froze. There was no time to evacuate everyone. Eli did not flinch. "Stay calm," the human said to the cadets. "Follow instructions, and no one will be harmed." Orders were given quickly, calmly, and precisely. Cadets moved as instructed, following every direction without hesitation. The human directed drones and defense systems predicting the enemy's trajectory and timing. When the ship struck, every countermeasure activated simultaneously. The impact was absorbed, energy shields flared, drones collided with the vessel, and the enemy ship was disabled in a burst of controlled explosions. The command deck was silent for a moment. Then cadets erupted into cheers and whispers of disbelief. Instructors stared at Eli, trying to comprehend what they had witnessed. Lyra approached slowly. "That was incredible," she said. You, save the station." Eli looked at her calmly. "The station is defended when everyone works together. I merely guide. Observation, anticipation, and patience. That is all humans need to survive." Cadets looked at each other, eyes wide. Respect had replaced fear, and awe had replaced disbelief. They now understood the warning. This human was dangerous not because of brute strength or aggression, but because of skill, strategy, and control that no one could predict. After the battle, Eli moved through the corridors, checking on cadets and instructors. The human offered quiet guidance, correcting minor mistakes and reinforcing the lessons learned. No one felt the need to mock or challenge the human now. Lyra followed. "Do you ever tire?" she asked. Eli shook their head. "Not from what I do, only from failure. And I do not fail easily." The day ended with the station secure. The cadets were exhausted but alive. They had learned more in a single day than in months of training. The enemy ships had retreated, likely to regroup and plan another attack. Lyra stood beside Eli, watching the stars outside the observation windows. "They will come back," she said. "They will," Ellie replied. "And we will be ready." Lyra realized fully that the warnings she had received were true. Humans were dangerous, not because they sought conflict, but because they survived, adapted, and acted with precision that no other species could match. And anyone who underestimated them would learn the truth too late. The station was calm, but it was a calm that carried tension beneath the surface. Cadets moved through the halls with quiet confidence, but every glance toward Eli was filled with respect and a little fear. Instructor Lyra walked beside the human, noticing how the cadets now made way without a word. The events of the past days had changed the station completely. High Command had sent another message. This time, it was direct. Humans were no longer to be underestimated. Eli's actions had proven beyond any doubt that a single human could not only survive the station's toughest challenges, but could also defend it against experienced enemy forces. Lyra stopped outside the command deck as Eli reviewed incoming data. "They are debating what to do next," she said. "Some want to remove you from the station. Others want to study you. They still do not understand humans fully." Eli did not look up. "They never will," the human said softly. "Not until they accept the truth. Humans survive. We endure. And when we act with precision." A group of cadets approached, carrying a set of tactical reports. They had worked all night compiling data from the battles and drills. Eli reviewed them quickly, nodding. Every threat, every error, every success was noted. Not a single detail was wasted. "Are you always this thorough?" Lyra asked. "Yes," Eli replied, "because every action has a consequence." Ignoring details is the fastest way to fail. The cadets left quietly, awe written across their faces. Lyra stayed behind. "You've changed everything here," she said. Eli turned to her.
Not me.
Humans simply show what others ignore. Strength is not in size or weapons alone. It is in observation, timing, and endurance. Others do not respect that until they see it firsthand. Lyra considered this. The warnings, the restricted files, the secrecy. It was all designed to contain something the galaxy had never faced. A human who could think faster than machines, anticipate better than the most experienced tacticians, and act with restraint when others would panic. By midday, the station received word that enemy forces had retreated, but the threat was not gone. High Command ordered a council of representatives from allied species to arrive. They would review the events, evaluate Eli, and decide the human's future. When the council arrived, they filled the observation chamber. Their presence was formal, imposing, but Eli remained calm. Questions were asked, tests were suggested, and simulations were proposed. Eli answered every question, executed every simulation, and guided scenarios with unmatched skill. The council watched, initially skeptical, then increasingly alarmed as the human anticipated outcomes and neutralized threats before they fully appeared. Finally, the council leader spoke. "We warned instructors about the human. We were told this species is dangerous. We now see why."
Eli tilted their head. Dangerous? Only to those who threaten what we protect.
A murmur ran through the chamber. The statement was simple, but it carried a weight no one could ignore. "Your skills," the leader continued, "have saved this station. But the galaxy must understand what humans are capable of."
Eli's eyes met Lyra's.
"They will understand only if they survive to see it themselves. Otherwise, it is irrelevant." After the council meeting, the station returned to its routines. Cadets trained under Eli's guidance, learning observation, patience, and strategy. They were no longer reckless, no longer relying solely on brute strength. Humans had taught them what true survival looked like. One evening, Lyra and Eli walked along the observation deck, looking at the stars. The station hummed softly around them, quiet now after weeks of alarms, drills, and attacks. "Do you think they will ever accept humans?" Lyra asked. Eli smiled faintly.
Some will. Some will try to remove us first.
"But those who understand endurance, anticipation, and restraint will respect us, and they will remember." Draven looked at the human, noticing the calm confidence in every movement, small, quiet, seemingly ordinary, but capable of things the galaxy had never seen. "I understand now," she said. "The warning. It wasn't about attacking others. It was about restraint, about control." "Yes," Eli said. "Humans are dangerous only when underestimated, only when others forget what we survive. And once we act, it is precise, controlled, and effective. That is why the station remains safe." The cadets below moved through the halls with quiet efficiency. Their training now reflected the lessons Eli had imparted. Strength alone was no longer enough. Observation mattered. Patience mattered. Timing mattered. Lyra realized that the station itself had changed because of this human. Not just the cadets, not just the defense systems, but the philosophy of survival, strategy, and control had shifted. Later that night, the command deck was quiet. Eli reviewed incoming signals, preparing for any possible threats. Lyra watched from the doorway, reflecting on the events. Humans, she understood, were capable of endurance, observation, and adaptability beyond any other species. They were dangerous not because they sought conflict, but because they survived it, and when required, acted with precision that no one expected. A quiet alarm signaled a new threat. A distant fleet, scanning for weaknesses, moving cautiously toward Ardent Reach. The cadets began to mobilize, ready under Eli's guidance. Lyra took her position beside the human, prepared to follow every instruction. Eli did not hesitate. Prepare for observation. Prepare for patience. Prepare to act only when necessary. That is how humans survive. That is how we win. The fleet drew closer, unaware of the station's defenses and the humans' anticipation. Every move they made was predicted, every action accounted for. When the first weapons fired, they were already neutralized. When the second attack came, it was rerouted, contained, and countered. Not a single cadet or station crew member was harmed. By the time the fleet retreated, the station was secure. The cadets and instructors stared in awe at Eli, realizing fully that the warning had never been an exaggeration. Humans were dangerous, not because they sought war, but because they survived it, adapted to it, and acted with precision no one could anticipate. High Command sent another message. They recognized the human as a strategic asset, a living demonstration of human capability. The Council recommended that humans be observed, respected, and studied, not to control them, but to understand the value of endurance, patience, and strategy. Lyra turned to Eli. You have changed everything here. The cadets, the instructors, the station, even the Council sees it now. Eli nodded calmly. Humans always adapt. That is what makes us dangerous, not aggression, not weapons, but survival itself. The stars outside twinkled quietly, and the station hummed with life. Cadets trained more efficiently than ever. Instructors observed and learned, and the station itself became stronger because of one small, quiet human. And for the first time, Instructor Lyra understood fully what the warning had meant. Humans were dangerous, not to the station, not to those who followed rules, not to those who understood, but to anyone who underestimated them, anyone who challenged what they could endure. Eli looked out at the stars, calm, composed, ready for whatever came next. The galaxy had finally learned. Humans were not to be underestimated, and the warning was no longer just words, it was truth.